there's a bear in the woods.
Right, come on, you fatty. Come on, fatty.
I don't even know who lives in there or what the hell's going on there.
Could I sleep in there today? Oh, no room.
And we're on the way there. Ignore the fart. We go, and a bit of that, and a bit of...
Singers, James, singers I've got. My pedal broke, man. And thanks to Showdown Bros, Mickey's on the most useless street in the world. Come on!
Always keep a shoe in your kitchen department, guys. Don't worry, it's the COVID talking. It's probably wild boar, a few bears, a lot of women washing their cars saying hi on the side of the road.
Go on, Mick, feel it, Mick, feel it. I might be going mad.
Want to see me underwear?
Fittingly to last week's race at Sebring, shortly after, F1 moved to Watkins Glen. And so today, we hop up to New York to face off at this fearsomely quick circuit. Will Partonen be able to back up his opening victory? We'll find out soon as we get ready to watch round 2 of the Lotus 79 Sunday Grand Prix Series. And you'll see it all live here on the Global SimRacing Channel. I am Joe Peak, and joining me in the booth is Joey Atterbury. Behind the scenes is our director, Ryan Bauer, and he's using cameras provided by Dougie Beard. The Glen doesn't quite look like it did back in the late 70s when this car raced here, but let's take a gander at how it shapes up today. Welcome to Watkins Glen International. Situated in upstate New York, just south of the Finger Lakes, this track has seen it all. Few road circuits can boast hosting Formula One, IndyCar, NASCAR, and IMSA during its history. Though it did have a brief fallow period in the early 80s, thanks to the investment of local companies, it's grown into one of the premier road tracks in the U.S. With 4 layouts to choose from that range between 2.5 and 3.5 miles in length, lap times can vary greatly. But it also means it's suitable for lots of different levels of racing, from amateur to pro. The one thing that stays consistent no matter which car and which layout you're using is that Watkins Glen means speed. Many of the straights are very long, and the majority of the corners are fast sweepers. Some of them include a surprising amount of banking as well. Combine that with the proximity of the barriers, and this historic circuit retains a very old-school feel. Drivers in lesser-powered cars can expect drafting battles, while higher-powered machinery will test the skill and bravery of their pilots. Some of the turns are visually iconic, such as the carousel and the S's. Others, like the inner loop, the chute, and turn 9, greatly challenge even the expertly skilled. And of course, we haven't even mentioned the drastic amount of elevation change drivers experience. Between its rich history and popularity among drivers, this track stays busy and seems likely to be that way for a long, long time. Well, we should see some high speeds around here, not just down the straightaways, but around the corners as well, Joey.
You're right. With this specific layout at Watkins Glen, we're only doing 11 turns. We're not doing the bus stop here today. And just under 3.5 miles in length, up there in Watkins Glen, New York, one of my favorite racetracks. And you mentioned the high speeds. Probably the slowest speeds that we're going to get to is down in the boot section, but climbing up through the S's and down that straightaway, we're going to see huge draft gains and especially probably some late braking duels into the outer loop and see who can hang it out tough around the outside there. But one thing's for sure, like you said, it's going to be a high-speed lap around this place.
She'll make for some fascinating racing in this car, almost Monza-like. Expect that today, which we'll be going to next week as well. So they've started off very quick here this season. Pauli Partanen, though, started off quick by taking the win in the F1 driver standings. Michael Leturk following him home in second place back at Sebring. Gernot Frische was only able to get third, and then Timothy Reed finishing P4 behind them. Dylan Freckleton with a nice top 5 himself in there. We'll see what he can do to keep it up. At times he's very consistent, and then at times the luck seems to go away from him. Only the first round in, so as you can expect, things still pretty tight here. We'll see if we get a clear horse race between some of the top runners after today. But what about the F2 Championship? Relatively new feature in this series.
Yeah, F2 is only separated by that iRating difference. All the cars and everything are the same right now. Keith Herner leads the way over Tim Wilkinson and Stephen Jones there, third place, Jason Carlo and Kurt Clapper, a familiar name inside the top 5. Ernesto Melendez the third, Ellis Spice, Masako Forkob, and also looks like Thomas Silbernagel there in the 10th place position in that F2. But really, we've only done the one race so far, Joe. Lots of racing to go this season.
Indeed, and there's going to be plenty of racing today at 24 laps for round 2. It's an open setup, but with this one, obviously you really want to trim that car out. At the same time, there's a lot of long, fast turns, so could you put some wing in it to help you try and find the grip through there and sacrifice a bit of straight line speed? We'll see who does what in the end. They don't have a spare car, and with this being kind of an old school style track, yes, they've updated it recently with a lot of paved runoff. There's still a lot of places where the barriers are right up next to the circuit. Drive-through penalty at 17 incidents and a DQ at 25. There's definitely some spots where they could run just a little bit wide, but that's probably more of a concern for slowdown penalties here for today's race as we watch Partanen come across the start-finish line. First lap, in fact, the first lap of anybody, puts in a 30.2, and as they start to trickle in, we'll see if anybody can top him. But we're expecting that the first lap is going to be the quickest here today, unless it's terribly hot, which I'm seeing it is not. So, yeah, we're looking at this first lap being the important one.
Yeah, and I think we had a couple birds in our ear behind the scenes saying, yeah, watch the temperatures on track, and that first lap will definitely be the fastest lap. I think the second lap, you just have a little bit of fall off, especially with those tires.
Indeed, and right now Tolanen is off by about a quarter of a second from Partanen. Oh, Leturk just put one in and is up into P2. He's been quick this season. Yes, he's usually pretty fast, but a second place where he challenged Partanen pretty much the whole race last time, and now he's gotten within pretty good range here at Watkins Glen. What about Gernot Frische, who's been showing steady improvement on his qualifying since the car had an update a couple years ago and has been trying to find his way back to the front, has definitely put in some effort lately. Oh, and Juan Costa, second in the championship last season, has come in and put a great lap in the first time.
Yeah, sneaking away that provisional pole, and right on board with Gernot here through the last couple corners, and a fast sweeping left-hander, and then you're going to scrape the wall on the left side here through this final turn, getting all the speed that you can out of it.
Down to the start-finish line, and a 30.9 is going to put him in 6th. Not that great, but also not horrible for Gernot Frische. What about Viekainen, who is yet to set a lap? His first one, unfortunately, was deleted, and his second one. Viekainen's going to be gridded up at the back of this 23-car field.
That is rough. Definitely going to have to make his way through traffic, especially up through the S's. These draft games do allow passing, but it is going to be tough to have to make all of those positions up, especially through the first few laps. Looks like Daniel Banker now coming through the laces of the boot and going to start to climb uphill. This is the lowest section of the racetrack right here.
Looks like Partanen and Turk unable to improve. Tolinen did go quicker, but stays P4 as we watch Banker come into the heel of the boot now. One of the spots where you can go a little wide and get away with it thanks to all the pavement. There you can see he is allowed to go across there and then up back into the main circuit. Now one of the trickiest corners here out of turn 9 and into the final 2. Can he set one down? His first lap was deleted, so this is going to be important, or else he's going to be joining Viekainen back here.
See what kind of speed he carries out on there. Now you look at timing and scoring. What does he put down here? A 31.97. Should put him right smack in the middle of the field here.
19th, it looks like, for him. Gernot Frische across the line. Second lap is quicker by actually a good margin. Very unusual compared to everybody else. So that's going to bump him back up into 5th after he got shuffled down into P9 a little bit ago. But it looks like all of our qualifiers are done early on this one. So time to go through that starting order. 3 splits today, and this is the top split that we're watching. Juan Costa put it on the pole with Pauli Partanen in P2. After that, Michael de Turk will start from 3rd, and Jukka Tolinen in 4th. Gernot Frische starts P5, followed by Juha Reina in the 6th position. Dylan Freckleton will start 7th. Jack David Spickett, P8. Then it's Timothy Reed in the 9th. A bit far down for Timmy, as Phil Reed, no relation, will start from 10th.
Here in 11th place position, we have Ove Trengrade. Xavier Sanchez there at 12th. Nathan Finnegan, 13th. Dmitry Boblev there, 14th. Patrick Samaran inside the top 15. Andreas Schuster, 16th spot. Javier Mascara, 17th. Pablo Suarez, Daniel Banker, 19th. Barry West, 20th. And Cam Porter there in 21st. We got 2 more. Kimmo Viekainen and Jason Clapper did not put in the time. They'll be starting all the way from the back.
Absolutely. Standing start, rather, for this series, as they did back in 1978. Interestingly, though this is very close to the layout that they ran, it's just slightly different from what they had back in the day. And you can see rather warmish temperatures, but not too bad on the track surface at about 92 Fahrenheit, 33 Celsius for our metric friends. And they start to grid up now. One thing to watch out for is Phil Reed back there. He's kind of earned a reputation because he actually races this on a controller. Now, most people consider that sort of a danger and a concern in most cases, but Reed runs like top 5 times on that controller, which is absolutely astonishing, Joey.
Well, not only that, but you look at the iRating, almost 6,000 iRating, and look at the number board. Number 4 on that number board for him, which means he is way up there in terms of the iRacing. What would you call that? Safety level, skill level in terms of the competitors?
Skill level, yeah. Just impressive stuff. In fact, I'm trying to see who is our lowest iRating driver. It looks like Boblev is, because with the 3 splits, this is going to be very high SOF. Yeah, 2760 is our lowest today. So that tells you something right there. It is going to be pretty stacked to try and take the win, especially at a track like this where it's going to be so easy to keep up with the front runners because of that draft.
Agreed, but I think that's one of the good parts about Watkins Glen is that even if you get shuffled back, you can still hang with it.
Yeah, should keep it very tight, but also a bit frenetic, I'm sure, at the front. We're just waiting on 4 of our top 5 here to grid up. They're taking a long time to put themselves out there as we get ready to take off here for round 2. Need Bob Lev in there along with Tolan and Partanen. Partanen now puts himself out on the track. Costa probably wants that championship after last season, losing out to Andy T, and T's not been around in the first 2 races. We've got everyone out there, so now the engines start to rev as the lights come up here for round 2, and the green flag is out. Costa is off. Well, good at first, and then suddenly he starts to slip up on his outside. Partanen is able to go just ahead of him, but not fully past as they fly into the 90, and he doesn't have the grip around the outside. Michael DeTurk is going to take advantage and is going to move into P2.
Yeah, still side by side up the S's. Who's going to claim that second place position? They're both leaving each other a lot of room out there, but now is when the draft games come into effect. Will Michael DeTurk be close enough to steal the lead away? He's already going side by side.
He wants that clean air in front of him, but he's going to have to go the long way around. There's a lot of banking here in the carousel. No dice, though. Looks like Costa's able to feed back in front. Partanen holds on to third as he had a challenge from Gernot Friesche, who has jumped up to fourth at the start.
Yeah, pretty impressive, though. There was only 1 or 2 cars off. I saw Dimitri off at the beginning. No big wrecks up through the first part of this first lap and climb up the hill. Now I'm impressed with DeTurk. He's really shown a lot of pressure to Wan Mi.
I think he knows it's going to be tough to manage to stay ahead of Costa, so he's trying to do everything he can to get position early behind them. We saw a bit of a battle between Reyna, Spickett, and Reed, which are actually 3 wide. Oh, no! And they just had a big accident here into the corner just in the background. Could barely see them into turn 9, unfortunately, and it looks like Cam Porter also got a little bit caught up in the mess.
Yeah, 3 wide going up the hill at Watkins Glen. That was a tough situation to be in, but look at this. Now we've got Partanen applying the pressure to Michael DeTurk as we catch this replay. Joe, it all happens here 3 wide. Check this out, coming up the hill, all going to sweep around to the left, and 3 into 1 just doesn't go.
Yeah, maybe a bit of net code as well, unfortunately, in the situation it looked like from that angle, and there's Cam Porter. Oh, no, he wasn't involved, unless maybe he just got shaken up seeing the cars slide off to the side. He gets back onto the track and gets rolling. Unless, did he have some help? Let's watch from behind.
I think, yeah, and it's tough right there, Joe. A little bit of wheel hop combined with over the crest. The car is very light.
Well, we carry on. Costa still leads DeTurk, leads Partanen, so no change there for those top 3 after the first lap is over. And we're riding on board with Partanen briefly as they plunge down the hill. A lot of elevation change at this track. It's not as noted as much for it because it doesn't really have as many blind crests, but boy, does a lot of the corners see them go either up or down throughout.
And you have to take that into effect as a driver. You got to understand when you're getting extra grip or when the car is going to be light underneath you. For instance, like right here, coming up over a slight crest, really have to dance the car on the accelerator, because if you take advantage of it, you're just going to go spinning around like we saw Cam Porter a couple laps ago.
Freckleton back in P6, also a gain of 1 since the start of this race. That's Jukka Tolvanen just in front of him right now. Very single file, interestingly. We have been seeing some people trying to slipstream by, but I'm impressed at how polite it's gotten very early.
And Costa's starting to stretch it out maybe a little bit, but a little bit is still under a second, and it actually goes all the way back to 6th place. Dylan Freckleton is right on board Gernot Friesche here. This is Tolvanen trying to make a move. He's going to go to the outside around what is the carousel here, and actually got a move for 2nd place right in front of him as well.
Yeah, Partanen trying to overtake DeTurk for P2. He actually gave Partanen the inside and kept hold of it, interestingly. Looks like Friesche is going to get passed by Jukka Tolvanen as the 5 car is going to move to P4, rather, down into the toe of the boot. Next on his list is Partanen, his fellow Finn.
Be curious to see how this plays out. Jukka usually has immense speed in the car. I know that him and Pauli do a ton of practice together. But Pauli's locked in a battle with Michael de Turk right now. It'll be interesting to see how this plays out because this is still the beginning stages of this race.
And if they start fighting a lot, that's a great news for Wanmi up in front of them. He's got it up to 1.2 seconds now. I'd say he's just about broken that slipstream, so he could scamper away with this. This is exactly what he needed to just get out of that tow.
I totally agree. If you're looking at the big picture of the race, Wanmi is so close to making that breakaway right now. He just needs to keep his head down, not make any mistakes, and let everybody else behind him fight it out.
So sadly, we've lost Boblev there down at the back. We had an incident we didn't get to see yet there on the first lap. And then Phil Reed with his wreck that we did go back and take a look at. As, there a big weave to the outside, or inside rather, between de Turk and Partanen, challenging for that second place. And in the background, I think that was Freckleton also all the way at the inside, trying to break that draft down the back stretch. No pass for P2 yet, but Partanen continues to make life difficult for the 6.
Well, and interesting enough, because you said Dylan Freckleton, that kind of drew my eye back to him. It's Timothy Reed that just went up around Dylan Freckleton, and might have to keep an eye on the number 9 car because he's doing laps that are comparable to the leader.
Schuster and Samarin there we saw on screen battling for the 14th as we come back to Freckleton now in the number 10, just behind Timothy Reed as they head through the heel of the boot, both of them using all of that paved track that they can and are allowed to, and then swinging back up over the blind turn 9 onto the main course once again. Can't seem to get as close as he wants, at least through this part, but that'll probably change around once they head out of the 90.
I agree, and I think if I'm Dylan Freckleton right now, I just want to take notes behind Timothy Reed because Timothy Reed is laying down some really fast laps. Once again, a 32.3. For reference, that's as fast as the cars right there in front of him, so I think he is starting to close in that gap, at least to Gernot Frisha right now.
Absolutely. So up the hill as they pick up speed once again. Not seeing Freckleton gain as much as I anticipated. We're going to jump back up to Partanen once again, and still de Turk weaves back and forth to see what he can do to nullify the effect and back down into the dipping right-hander of the outer loop. They head into the boot section. However, the teammates Partanen and Tolinen are now together, so it's 2 versus 1.
You know, I keep the crystal ball underneath the desk here, Joe, and sure enough, yeah, here's Tolinen right on the back of Pauli, and it'd be interesting to see how they play it out. Michael de Turk, I think, is on the defensive now. He doesn't have that slipstream from Juan Costa, so it is 100% in his rearview mirror.
Back into the heel of the boot. As we were riding on board, you could see just how much the cars hit a bump that has formed since they rebuilt this track. iRacing did. I don't know if it's because they only repaved the main part of the course and they didn't repave that shortcut in the inner loop, or what it is that causes it, but it can be pretty bad in some cars, and these things are supposed to be low to the ground, so I'm sure it's not really helping them there.
Yeah, and I think the other thing is the exit of the bus stop there, Joe, is you got 2 different sections of the racetrack that are treated differently because you have all this work done on the bus stop and then it's got to merge back out on the racetrack. It's tough to grade those 2 and level them together, and I think that's what we're seeing.
Yeah, let's watch it one more time here from onboard to give you a good idea of what we're talking about. This is Tolinen, and that's a good run there from Partanen. They're going to hit it right about here. Mm-hmm. Yeah, you can see them leap up. These cars are absolutely not supposed to do that like you see the 49s do.
Yeah, no, and I think that's just, I think part scan, part how this racetrack is. The bus stop is a totally different addition to the racetrack, so it's built differently, and I think we're just seeing where it merges back in.
I think it was 1990 it was built. I need to double check the stats on that. It was either 89 or 90 that they put that in, sadly, because of a death from NASCAR that happened into the carousel as the car had lost its ability to slow down, and as the big speeds that they took up to there were not that safe, they had to do something to try and ease things up as they come back onto the main circuit once again, still stuck P2, P3, P4 between this trio, but about 2 seconds behind Costa.
Yeah, they're still pretty tight and narrow here. jump back. This is Jason Clapper working his way around Barry West right now. That's a narrow section of the racetrack. I mentioned it gets so light up there, and then through one of the faster corners out onto the last turn. And let's start another lap here at Watkins Glen. This is a really good battle for 16th.
Indeed, we got a replay here with Frecia. Did he have a problem coming out of turn 9? What if he had maybe a slowdown, or did he actually spin it up? No, he spun it up, caught it, and kept it going. But he now falls to, where did he go? 7th place, so lost a couple positions.
And he's actually, got a lot of company right now behind him, almost 3 wide going into the carousel. Xavier Sanchez involved in this one as well.
And we've come back to the battle for P2 between these three. There is what you were talking about. Frecia ahead of Spickett and Sanchez side by side. Xavier, known as a very popular streamer, goes by Hakey 360 and actually races in the Superstar Porsche Super Cup series as the precursor to the big boys, the pros, and usually puts on quite a bit of an entertainment over there on Saturdays. But right now, here on Sunday, he's switched over to the open wheeler as he usually does and is trying to find his way into the top 5.
And while we're here on this battle, Joe, look at the names in this battle. Freckleton, Gernot Frecia, Jack David Spickett, Xavier Sanchez, Ove Trengrade, and even Kimo Villakainen is coming up on the back end of this.
Yeah, developing into quite a bit of a group. So if anybody slips up, like we saw Frecia did, they will probably lose a lot of positions. Another fastest lap for Costa up at the front of the field continues to pull away from everybody. Watch out for those curbs. You saw one of the cars go off there. Even though they're quite flat compared to some racing tracks, I've heard that from some of the drivers that they can actually high center these things. As here we go again for P2.
He's trying to make it stick around the outside, and let me tell you, if Pauli gets far enough along Michael and gets that fresh air around the carousel, you can definitely make the outside line work. There's enough camber and grip in the track.
He's been trying it. He keeps poking his nose, and Turk maybe trying to keep him on his toes is either going left or right and switching it up each time. Can't seem to get a rhythm to try and get ahead of the American, at least at this stage. And we heard Michael talk to us last week. This is a bit of a home track for him, and he wants to do well here. So even if he can't chase down Costa, this P2 is going to be personal for him.
And, you know, home track means a lot of different things, but when I think of Watkins Glen, Joe, there's so many ice cream, like local ice cream spots. I would think that Michael's got to love ice cream if he loves Watkins Glen.
Well, he's got 2 ice-cold Finns behind him, unfortunately, that are trying to see if they can turn up the heat on him. And we'll see if he melts or not. Is up at the front, the Ferrari of Costa at 2.5 seconds ahead. And now back up the hill. This looks like, I don't want to say a foregone conclusion because things can still happen, but unless he does make a mistake, I don't think they're going to catch him.
Well, you look at the data, right? He's turning 31.6 by himself out there, and everybody behind him 31.7 or slower. So everybody else has got to find speed in order to catch Juan Costa, and he's just extending that gap over 2.5 seconds already.
I say that, and there are some drivers that do get quicker towards the end, but when you start to get up to this length, it's they may have kind of lost out at this point, because by the end of the race, both of them are going to have very tired cars and worn out machinery that maybe will make passing all the harder. Meanwhile, speaking of Frecia and his car being quicker at the end, he's been struggling here at the beginning, and it does look like he's gotten past Dylan Freckleton now. So he's overtaken that spot back, and he's into P6, which is down 1 from where he began this race. Behind him, Spickett, Sanchez, and Trangrader as close as ever.
Yeah, I mean, you look at the whole battle from 6th all the way down to, I call it 11th place down there, because Villakainen is only 0.8 back from this train now. And like I mentioned, you look at these names, and I think any one of these names could win this race, but they're all fiercely battling for what is 6th place on the racetrack.
Absolutely. I mean, when you get 3 separate splits, it's going to be tough to compete because they've really focused all the talents into this one single race. And like I said, you get down to the bottom and you still have drivers that are close to my I rating at the very bottom end of things. As here we go, side by side, and Turk still covering the inside, sweeping the long way around. This time he tries to cut down in front of him, and it works. And now Partinen's in P2. Turk's going to try and come back at him, but that looked a little bit desperate, and he's going to get cut off.
Just barely gets it stopped before running into the back of Pelly Partinen. Let me tell you, that was a power move from Partinen, now sitting in second place. He's been really nice and respectful around the outside of the carousel. He was far enough. This time he chopped down on him, and look at Michael the Turk doing everything he can get back up there in second place position, but he's got to watch his mirrors. Jukka Tolinen is ready to strike.
And Jukka's probably taking notes. In fact, he may be in communication there with his teammate. I'm not entirely sure, but if he saw what he did, no doubt he'll know that's what I got to do to try and make this stick. Not sure how similar their setups are as well, and if he has the downforce the long way around to try and get that. But it does seem like the three of them separate a little bit here on the final few corners, struggling to stay close. Partinen with the fastest lap of the race that time.
He got that slipstream draft around the straightaway there, but let's see what kind of wing levels Michael de Turk is running. This is the first time he has been in a slipstream in a long time. See if he starts to draw up on the back of Pauli Partinen.
And Michael knows all the tricks in setting up this car and trying to get it fast in a straight line. Look at him kind of weaving behind there, trying to get themselves into where they want to be, but no change of position this time. So did Michael set it up to be quick in a straight line, or maybe did he put a little bit too much wing in it in comparison to his rivals here? This all has been an incredibly close stalemate between these three for much of the race, while they just kind of put her around behind Juan Micosta, who's up to 3 seconds now ahead of them and continuing to climb. But they are pulling away from Timothy Reed. It's nearly 5 seconds down to the next car.
Yeah, definitely pulling away from fifth place there. Jukka Tolinen all over the back, but here is Kimmo Vilakainen. Remember, he didn't get the qualifying lap in, so he's moved up 11 positions. However, he's looking at the back of Ove Trengrade, who is near impossible to get around on the racetrack unless he makes a mistake out there. And this is still that train, the train for 6th place.
With Gernot Frische up at the front of them. I think he has been a little bit quicker than Reed. Let me double check on the times. Last lap he was. This lap, Reed is much, much slower, actually. There's about 4/10 difference, so Frische might actually be pulling that group up to Timothy Reed, which has got to be ominous in his mirrors.
I think you're right. However, I think Dylan Freckleton is the one that's starting to kind of lag behind now from Gernot, and that's drawn Jack David Spickett up to him. And then it's really just kind of that draft train between Xavier, Ove, and Kimmo back there in 9th, 10th, and 11th.
Well, and he might even lose a position, because to his inside, here comes the car of Jack David Spickett, but he doesn't like that low line. Can't get past him, and that gives the inside and the defense to Freckleton down into the chute. And that definitely split them off of Gernot Frische. So you're right, he's holding these guys up.
Yeah, and a little bit of an up and down race for Dylan, and it looks like Ove's on the defensive right behind this group, trying to keep Vilakainen behind him. It doesn't matter if you look up in 7th place at Dylan or back in 10th place at Ove, there's racing here.
Lots of Finnish power teams out here, and Viakainen's part of the Raccoon Racing team, way off the course there for Trengrade, trying to give him room so that they don't tangle up. But that gives Viakainen a top 10 now from the very back of the field. And he gets Sanchez after that as we come back to Jason Clapper, who hasn't made as great of inroads, but has passed a few cars, up 6.
Yeah, Jason Clapper always, I like watching him, always one of the big movers, because you're right, he always starts from the back. I like making those passes. I like starting from the back, so I can definitely relate to Jason Clapper out there. Oh no, we got problems up front. That was Xavier Sanchez out of turn 1. Just hit the wall hard and disconnected.
Oh, and I think it goes back to what I talked about a little bit earlier with the curb. If we can get a replay once we see whether or not this battle will start to come together up the hill. It looks like he bottomed out hard over that first exit curb.
And that first exit curb is really wide, Joe, so it's easy to do. We're going to ride on board here, and this is all going to happen on the exit of turn 1, and it's going to hook hard drivers right.
Here it is. Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah. That, and you know what? I think that was an Alt F4.
Oh, yeah.
Right there.
Oh, and Jack David Spigot, problems coming up the boot right now. Didn't get into the wall, but slow on the racetrack. Loses multiple positions. Sorry to interrupt you there, Joe.
It's okay. That was a great catch on his part, because he nearly had a similar situation with a big hard hit into that powder blue Armco. Let's see here. Just starts to get a little loose. Woo! Great quick hands. My goodness.
Wow, what a save. And that's really tough right there. The car's loaded up coming up the hill. So you got all this extra grip. When you make these counter steer moves, you have to be careful because it can send you into the guardrail like that. Oh, so close.
And to even keep hold of it with 2 wheels into the grass. Great stuff from Spigot. I'm sure he's not feeling great, but he's still in 10th and he's still racing. So it's still more to be fought for as we jump back behind him to the battle here between Nathan Finnegan and Andreas Schuster. We were watching Schuster a little bit earlier, but he was ahead instead of behind before. So Finnegan, who currently holds that spot, man, it is just a sitting duck. Look at this. He is pulling Schuster up at a rate of knots. He's going to take the inside. Can he finish it up? Yes, he can.
Yeah, really good top end from Andreas Schuster. And I got to think either that's a wing angle difference or maybe carrying a little bit of damage on Finnegan's car, slowing him down with the top end.
Yeah, that's a good point. It could be that. These cars a little bit sensitive to aero damage, especially when running in a straight line. And some of it too, I've heard the drivers talk a lot about the ride height plays a big part in straight line speed in these cars.
I can see that, especially with how they make the downforce levels. That will directly relate to the top end speed with the car, depending on how high or low you're running it.
There's a big slide there from Mascara in front of Samarin that we're watching on board with. This is the battle for 13th position. But we have good fights up and down. I know we've been focusing a lot on those top 3, but the drivers all through the field have been giving us some great action as we watch them come down the front stretch. If he can stay this close off of the 90, I think Patrick's got a really good opportunity here.
Yeah, he's just got to get the good exit out of turn 1. Careful of those curbs that we just saw bite somebody. And now it's the drafting game. Up through the S's, just hit your marks. Don't drift too wide through here, and you'll set yourself up nicely underneath the spoiler for this long straightaway.
Here we go. Yep, he did get a good run. He's got a big old toe as they come up to the outer loop. Gonna look to the inside. Last time we saw this, it worked out for the inside car. This time, it's a repeat. Patrick will take P13 over Mascara. By the way, other than Sanchez, we mentioned it earlier, we lost to Boblev, and Suarez is also out of this race. As now, it's Barry West and Daniel Banker in the ATS cars.
Yeah, side by side through the carousel now, going down into the laces of the boot. Looks like Daniel Banker is going to take away that position, and cool to see like these old themed cars running together. It's just kind of a little nostalgic, if you will.
Yeah, you saw in the intro for this series that they always have classic liveries at the ready. Thankfully, they have more of them now than they did a couple seasons ago when they updated this car, because they had to redo all the paints. But that is a huge part of this community. The Classic Teams Championship, they call it. It's its own championship that's outside of what we cover here in the Sunday Grand Prix series. And it's been going on for, I think, since something like 2015, 2014. It's a long time they've been doing it.
No, I think that's cool that the community gets involved so much. I know in the 49 community it happens, and here in the 79 community as well. And not only with paints, but shared setups and tips and just camaraderie between the competitors.
Yeah, anytime I see somebody start asking what's a good series to join if you want that good camaraderie and good racing ethics and whatnot, and I always tell them, go to the Retro series. Those guys are all out there just for the love of racing, and they'll help you out and get you set up and good to go. Meanwhile, Viekainen Still racing with Ove Trangrade on top of him. I think actually he's passed Trangrade in recent laps and has moved himself up into P8.
To give you a report on this battle, Joe, because I've been watching it, this was that battle for like that 6th through 11th place positions, and then it got broken up. Now, these two cars are definitely faster than who they're chasing, which is Dylan Freckleton. So I'm not sure if Ove is just hanging out behind Chemo, because I know they're making ground on Dylan if they don't fight between themselves.
Had another DNF, unfortunately. Juho Reina in a battle with Barry West. Tangled wheels, and that sent him flying into the tire barrier, and a pretty graphic depiction of why they have the bus stop in real life here. Watch this one, because you definitely would not want this happening in real life, even with modern open wheelers. And off he goes.
It's a tough hit. You know, in some of the sports cars, they carry a lot of speed out of the bus stop, and you see cars get destroyed out there, let alone not slowing down for the bus stop.
Yeah, seriously. So that's Reina could repair the car from here, but I'll be surprised with him slamming it into the gearbox. It probably took a real lick. Meanwhile, look at the difference between Costa and Partanen, with them being 1-2 these last few laps. Partanen has been slightly quicker and has cut it down to about 2.3 seconds. But I was talking about it earlier, Joey, that even if you are faster at the end of this race, they lost so much of that time early. I think it was kind of the death knell by the time they hit the halfway mark.
Yes and no, Joe. I think that there's still 8 laps left. Coming 7 to go here this time by. The gap is only 2.5 seconds, and I think if you get within draft sniffing range, all of a sudden Wanby might change his approach a little bit, and that's all you need.
That's true. Still, it's been less than 1/10 of a second.
I know.
Each
it's
lap.
tough.
Yeah.
It's tough, but it's out there. It's doable. It's not like it's, what do we used to see in Andy T with 15-second gaps out there at this point?
Yep, exactly. T having not shown up for the first 2 races as we come back to Gernot Frische. Still with the woulda, coulda, shoulda race, unfortunately. Maybe could have fought for those top 3, but he flew back here and out of the top 5 and is just trying to creep back into them. This battle with Timothy Reed is, yes, going to put him in the top 5. Nice, smooth move the long way around. Doesn't look like it's completely done, but that inside line for Frische should finish the job, and it does.
And you're right. I think that Gernot's probably going to look back at this race and maybe be a little frustrated, but I think that pass right there at least put a smile on his face. He's been hunting down Timothy Reed since he made that mistake, and now he's back up there. 7 laps to go. Just go lay down some laps.
Oh, Deturk lost 3rd now, and it's a spin coming through the heel of the boot. Another mistake from a top driver. This tells me that, to me, I think they are pushing this to the absolute limit. To see some of these great drivers up here all making what are simple mistakes on their own, I think they're at the edge.
Well, and I'm not sure if it was a little bit of maybe wheel hop going in, but it was definitely too fast at apex. Got loose, slid it around, and I was actually pretty impressed at how much he had pulled out over Jukka Tolinen. I thought Jukka was definitely going to be a player for that 3rd place spot, but I guess now he's in it.
Indeed, so we're going to have a finish 2-3 today. By the looks of it, coming back to Freckleton. Is very close to Kimmo Viekainen, another Finn out on the track today as he weaves around the outside. Don't have to worry about the long way around through the last part of the S's. If you got more speed, you've got it. And indeed, even before they get to the braking, looks like we can move Viekainen into P7.
Yeah, that means up 15 places for Kimmo out there. And you talked about woulda, coulda, shoulda races. I think that is the story for Viekainen today.
Jason Clapper also following him up the order, not as successfully, but he gets into 14th now as Mosquera doesn't fight that one too hard into the outer loop. So back down the hill they go. We're only 6 laps to go, so time is running out, and boy, Clapper is absolutely taking off. But Costa, let's see, the difference now down to about 2.3 seconds. Both of them setting personal bests. and does look like, let's see if he's faster this time by 31.3 for Costa. Partanen 31.0. Ooh, that was a big chunk that time.
And you cue up the Jaws music right now if you're Paulie Partanen. Be like, hey, play this on his radio.
Can't imagine if they had put a radio in these machines back then. They'd be so loud. I don't know if you'd be able to hear much as they fly down the back stretch. And man, Tolanen's lost touch with Partanen as well. It's up to 3.5 seconds between those two. Again, to me, it seems they are just pushing it 10 tenths here today, as that looked like a bit of a slide down through the chute if I was seeing things maybe. It almost had a pass there between Frisha and Reed, though. Behind them, Frisha had to hold off the number 9 down into the outer loop.
I saw that. I thought that Gernot was going to be able to pull away from Timothy Reed, but Reed is hanging tough back there on the back wing of Gernot Frisha. He wants to stay in the top 5, and now looking at this battle, we're going to be coming to 4 laps to go after just a couple more corners. And Joe, it is continuing to close in. I'm seeing under 2-second gap now.
Also worth noting, because we keep talking about that fastest lap, they have bonus points available in this series. There's 2 bonus points for the pole, which Costa's already taken, and 2 bonus points for the fastest lap, which has been traded back and forth between Wanmi and Pauli as they cross the line this time. Not a fastest lap for Costa as he crosses, nor for Partanen, but last time it was another 2 tenths for Pauli. Did Wanmi maybe run out of tire a little bit? Is his car sagging now here towards the end of the race?
We're going to find out what Wanmi Costa is made of, because Pauli Partanen is, as NBA Jam calls it, on fire right now. I know that it wasn't his personal best, Joe, but a 30.78 compared to a 30.77 is pretty dang close, if you ask me.
Yeah, he is on top of it and is really wheeling that thing. Does he have enough time to try and catch him? Because it's not just about catching up to him. He's then going to have to make the pass. And we have seen some defenses have worked quite well into the outer loop.
Absolutely. And you know, I meant it when I said we're going to find out what Wanmi Costa's made out of. And actually right now, I'm showing him tracking faster than his personal best. Wonder if he just left the lure out there for Pauli Partanen a little bit.
Maybe some psychological games, you think, there?
You know, as a driver, you got to pull out all of the cards. And Pauli, his only card right now is to go as fast as possible. However, if you're Wanmi Costa, you can afford to lay back maybe a couple corners, let the tires cool off, and then have a blistering fast lap to just take the wind out of the sails, if you will.
About half a tenth off of his quickest time, 30.775, 30.649 for Pauli Partanen with the fastest lap of the race briefly before Tolanen takes it with a 30.5. And poor Michael de Turk, after his slip-up, he is 5 seconds behind them now with very little hope of getting back into those podium positions. Now down to 3 laps to go. It's ticking away quick.
Well, and that camera shot right there shows you even how far back Jukka Tolanen has dropped. I know he just set that purple fastest lap of the race, but he is nowhere close to this battle for the lead. It really is between Wanmi Costa and Pauli Partanen.
I was checking to see if Viikanen can maybe get Reed before the end. That's not looking as likely as maybe a tenth or 2 faster a lap. So with 3 seconds to make up, not sure that that is going to change hands. But down to 2 seconds now. We'll get the 2 to go signal as we cross the line. Costa, 1.8 seconds. Maybe struggling just a little bit in certain corners in comparison to Partanen as we watch them exit turn 9, use it all the way up to the grass there for the blue and white of the number 2 machine. What's the difference going to be between them? It does look a little faster briefly through those corners. The last 2 onto the main straight. Costa crosses with a 30.5 and a 30.54. So it is, again, about half a tenth slower, but this time Partanen is the one that loses out.
You know, and if we're... Oh, do we have a problem with Gernot Frisha on the racetrack?
We do. He is towed into pit lane. Something big has happened. Oh, wow, he had a big one. This was out of the penultimate turn. Oh, no, he hit Michael de Turk. He's going to come together with de Turk, who must have had some sort of spin, and put the car in one of the strangest positions I've ever seen.
So unfortunate. It looks like, yeah, you're right, a mistake from Michael de Turk. I'm going to expect a hook spin. Yep, there it is. To the left side. Now he's going to try to get going, but he's right in the middle of the racetrack, and Gernot doesn't know to go right or left. All he's trying to do is avoid, and there's a car right in front of him.
For all your storage needs, go to Gernot Friesche for all the most creative solutions, because I didn't know you could fit a car between the Armco and the fencing there.
And de Turk just kind of keeps on going.
That is wild. Where is de Turk running now after that, actually?
He's losing a bunch of speed and positions, but, oh, and he just spun it right now again, going down into the bus stop, or into the loop. He's having some problems. He just disconnected.
Yeah. I think he just wanted to carry it on to at least see the checkered flag, but too much of a danger, hit the wall again, and that is it for him. So up at the front, Costa leads, takes another fastest lap as we watch Freckleton versus Viekainen. Viekainen now up into the top 5 because of those two retiring. An immensely impressive run of 17 positions gained for him. As we check out the Ferrari, it's back up to 3.2 seconds. It's gone back in favor of the 3 car.
Yeah, definitely Juan Costa has taken a hold of this race one more time, whether that was him cooling the tires off or him just saying, all right, it's time to go. Whatever it is, he has got his foot down, and out front is all he needs to look.
Costa, trying to think. Yeah, I think he ran into trouble, didn't he, in the first race in Sebring, and was sent to the back, if I'm remembering correctly. I'll need to double check my notes on that, but he's making up for it. This time out, he is not giving away any points. They get 3 drop weeks, I believe it is, in this series, 3 or 4. So he's got plenty to help at this stage. And coming back with this dominant victory is putting his stamp on things here in round 2. Into the final corner for Juan Costa. He was runner-up last season. This time out, is he going to make a run for the championship? A win will certainly set him on that path here at Watkins Glen.
Great race from Juan. Looks like Pauli Partinen's going to come home second. Jukka Tolvanen completing the podium.
Timothy Reed as well, up 5 spots at the sharp end of the field. Congratulations to him as Viekainen, 17 gain to take a top 5. Freckleton behind him manages P6.
Yeah, and you see Ove Trengrade holding off Jack David Spickett there. Jump a little bit further back. I believe this is Daniel Banker right now, and Patrick Samarin fighting it out with Finnegan coming home in 10th.
And Clapper up 11 to get a 12th place. And yeah, you mentioned Banker. He's going to follow them home in the ATS machine and finish in 14th, which is going to take us to a quick break. We'll come back with the official results as well as driver interviews, so make sure and stick around.
Racing isn't easy, but experiencing it is. iRacing puts you in the driver's seat with the industry's leading sim racing game. Drive on laser scan replicas of the greatest racing circuits from around the world. Go head-to-head against other drivers chosen by skill-based matchmaking to ensure competitive racing at every level. Compete across all your favorite series. In officially licensed cars, engineered to deliver the most accurate driving experience possible. Join a race or host your own with players from across the globe. Race against the computer or in a league with friends. Feel the thrill behind the wheel. Visit iRacing.com.
There's a bear in the woods.
Right, come on, you fatty. Come on, Fatty.
I don't even know who lives in there or what the hell's going on there.
Could I sleep in there today? Oh, no room.
And we're on the way there. Ignore the fart. We go, and a bit of that, and a bit of...
Singers, James, singers I've got. My pedal broke, man. And thanks to Show That Bros, Mickey's on the most useless street in the world. Come on! Always keep a shoe in your kitchen department, guys.
Don't worry, it's the COVID talking. It's probably wild boar, a few bears, a lot of women washing their cars saying hi on the side of the road.
Go on, Mick, feel it, Mick, feel it. I might be going mad.
Want to see me underwear?
Welcome back to Watkins Glen, round 2 for the Sunday Grand Prix Series. Sees Juan Micosta come back and take the victory this time, as Pauli Partsinen wound up second, was trying to chase him, but didn't have enough at the end. Jukka Tolvanen, P3, as Timothy Reed advances up to 4th spot late in the race, thanks to some accidents happening in front of him. Kimmo Viekainen finished in 5th, having failed to set a qualifying time. He rushed his way through the field and managed to top 5. Dylan Freckleton was 6th, and Ove Trangrade P7. Then it was Jack David Spickett in 8th, and Andreas Schuster making up a number of spots himself into P9. Nathan Finnegan winds up 10th.
Patrick Samaran there in 11th spot. Jason Clapper coming home 12th after going up 11 positions today. Javier Mascara 13th. Daniel Banker 14th. Barry West inside the top 15. Cam Porter 16th place. And then we saw some issues with everybody else further down. Michael DeTurk, Gernot Risha, Phil Reed, Yoho Reina, Suarez, Sanchez, and Dmitry Bobolev there.
And we've got Juan Micosta ready to talk to us. I'd love to hear his thoughts on how hard he was pushing, because we can see early on now in the replay, he did have a little bit of a challenge at the beginning from Michael DeTurk. So Juan, once you were clear of DeTurk, were you pushing flat out? Were you holding some in reserve? What were you at?
Hello, Joe. Thank you. I was pushing all the laps because I don't trust Pauli. He's very fast, and Michael. So I had to open the gap. I had a couple of moments with a snap on the rear tires, middle of the race. I think I had a couple ones. So I'm happy to finish and better in first place.
Interesting. That explains why we saw the gap come down just a little bit a few times. Speaking of the tires snapping on you, what happened on the start that allowed Michael to get a shot at trying to take the lead away from you? Because it seemed like you were good off the line at first, and then suddenly everybody was catching up to you.
I released the clutch too early and too fast. I know the mistake I made.
That explains it. It definitely caught me off guard. It looked like you were solid, and then suddenly everybody was swamping you. But like you said, you managed it in the end. You didn't have a great week at Sebring. Is this where your season truly starts for you?
I hope so, because it was a really bad weekend at Sebring, but here is perfect.
Well, excellent.
Sorry to Pauli for the bad start. I sold him to Michael here.
Are you sure that wasn't on purpose to try and hold him up a little? Well, congratulations on the win, Juan Mi, and hopefully we'll get to talk to you more this season.
Okay, see you.
That was Juan Costa with Pauli Partanen up next. Joey has caught up with the sneaky Finn.
Pauli, congratulations on the second place finish.
Oh, thank you.
Well, and talk to us about that battle that you had with Michael de Turk out there on the racetrack. For a while, it seemed like you were stuck behind him and then finally made that power move around the outside of the carousel.
Yeah, well, first of all, I was really thinking that should I just give the fight off and maybe we just try to catch Costa, but then I decided that no, I want to make that overtake, and then Michael was hard to overtake and pass. He was super good, and he had a bit more top speed than I did, so it was not easy, but what a move. It was nice overtake, one of the best I have made.
It was a great move where you just kind of left him barely enough room, but stuck it around the outside of that heavily banked corner. And didn't that really set you in clean, free air? Did you think that you were able to chase down Juan Mi? Because at a point, the gap was under 2 seconds.
Yeah, I didn't believe that I could make it, but I was really trying. I was hoping that maybe Juan makes a mistake or something like that. And yeah, I did catch him a little bit, but at the end, I decided that I'm not able to pass him, and I tried to cool my tires for the last lap and make a fastest lap, but sadly I failed there. I could have made a better lap on the last lap, but I made a tiny bit of mistake there.
Well, you know, it happens out there. You're always one of the fastest competitors, especially in these cars. And looking ahead at Monza, you got a good low downforce setup to maybe stand on the top step of the podium there?
Yeah, it's not really my track, but let's see what I can do.
Awesome. Well, we will see you there at Monza. And last thing, anybody you want to say hi to?
Big thanks to Michael, Jukka. Great week again with you guys, and Costa, you had amazing pace, very good driving. Like, I don't think you made any big mistakes, maybe tiny ones, but like awesome drive and very good quality. So hats off to you, and thanks to you guys. You are the best.
Always a class act here, finishing second. That's Pauli Partanen at Watkins Glen.
Indeed. We've got third place Jukka Tolinen with us as well, his fellow Finn, to talk to us about his race. But it started off not ideal. You lost 2 positions, had to catch back up to those top 4, Jukka. If it weren't for that, do you feel like maybe you would have been in a better spot to maybe challenge Pauli at the end of the race?
Yeah, maybe. I was maybe even a little bit too careful in first corner after killing both Michael and Pauli in the race before this race, so I was kind of not so comfortable and not wanting to cause another mess. So yeah, I saw Gernot and was it maybe Dylan inside braking deep, so I took it really carefully, and I was able to catch Michael and Pauli later, but I think I was pushing so much and drifting that my tires were boiling, and then I wasn't able to keep behind them anymore after Pauli made his move. So yeah, and in the end I was trying to do the fastest lap. We had a nice battle there. I think at least 3 of us, or maybe even Michael at fourth position, was trying to get the fastest lap, so I was just cooling my tires and then doing an attempt and then another lap of cooling tires and so on. So I was trying to get it, but didn't do that. So yeah, that was pretty much it.
Well, you have the ability to maybe apply some of these lessons to future races, because not only do we have the fast, high-speed Watkins Glen, Monza is up next, and then Road America after that. Do you enjoy tracks that have those super long straights?
Yeah, usually I do. I hope I can race at Monza, but let's see. I'm really busy currently, so didn't practice this week. A couple of laps on Monday, and then just jumped into the pre-broadcast race, and it showed. As said, I had a terrible pre-broadcast race, but yeah, I hope I can race at Monza. It's definitely a track where I want to win at some point, so Yeah.
Now, we were kind of alluding to the fact that you and Pauli run on a team there. Are you guys in contact during the race, or you just do your own thing?
Yeah, we are usually in a voice call, so yeah, we are kind of acting as a team, and sometimes we are in the same call even with Michael and or Kimmo, but today we were wanting to maybe concentrate a little bit more as we didn't practice much, so we were just with Pauli, so yeah.
Oh, well, we'll have to keep that in mind next time we follow you two in the race. Congratulations on a podium, and hopefully we will get to talk to you a few more times this season.
Yeah, thanks. And I was sad to see Michael crash out. He would have deserved the podium today, but yeah, I will take the podium as well. It's been a while already, so.
Well, we have our handy stats. Thanks to Michael. I'll look that up while we're talking to Cam Porter. Joey has caught up with a man that had a bit of a lonely race today.
Yeah, Cam, I know it wasn't probably the most exciting race. We caught the little lap 1 incident that you had, the small half spin. Talk us through how difficult that first lap is between the cold tires and also having everybody all around you.
Well, first of all, I was disturbed that I got put in the top split. I am so off the pace in these cars. So obviously I was trying to take it easy on the first lap and not take anyone out, and that's kind of why I had that half spin, and there was an incident up ahead. I saw some smoke. I let out, but not enough, and I almost hit the car ahead of me, and that's what I spun out trying to avoid hitting them, but just got back on track, and obviously I was the slowest car out there. I have fun driving this car, but I'm just not on pace with the top guys, obviously.
You should give yourself a little bit of credit out there, Cam. You are sitting here in the top split. You moved up 5 positions from where you started back in 21st, so you finished 16th. So I don't know. I think you're making yourself a plenty good name out there on the racetrack, and I think you keep it up. Other than that, I think if you keep it up, other than that small half spin, you'll be right up there fighting for top 10s for sure.
That's nice of you to say, Joey. Thanks.
So, and before we let you go here, anybody you want to say hi to or give a thank you to?
I just want to thank the custom to that other series that I race. The Lotus 79 community is very helpful with their setups and, their lap demos for the races. So I really appreciate that. So thanks to the 79 community guys.
Awesome. Well, that was Cam Porter coming home 16th today at Watkins Glen.
I was able to find Tolanen's last podium. It was at Suzuka back on December 18th, so 97 days since he was last on the podium. That gets reset to 0 now. We'll see if he can keep that up, and we'll be back for that next time. So a big thank you, of course, to the Lotus 79 community for bringing us back for another season of coverage, along with a thanks to the team, Joey, Ryan, and Dougie. Make sure to check out our social media, our website, and our merchandise store, but also don't forget to subscribe to our YouTube channel so you don't miss a moment. The next race, Monza, will be Sunday, April 2nd at 12:30 p.m. Eastern. And be sure to check out our other broadcasts listed here, because up next later today, the MX-5 World Sim Series goes to VIR. That'll be at 4:40 p.m. Eastern. Until next time, though, race clean, race hard, and we'll see you on the track.